Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for another video. In this video, I think it's finally time to start painting this building we're on, and I just wanted to give you a look at my new spray booth. For Christmas, my wife got me the motor that goes to this thing, and then I built all the rest of this on my own. So this will be the maiden voyage for this spray booth. I just wanted to show you what I've got. And this, opposed to my other spray booth, I can turn the lights on and off separately from the motor. And it's a good deal bigger than the old one. So just wanted to show you that. And let me get this thing ready, and we're gonna primer the building we've been working on. Okay, so let's get this thing sprayed. You will notice, I'll just make the one comment here. I did cover the bottom of the booth with newspaper, and you notice the inside is painted white. I do that because I actually have a piece of white foam core that will cover this back piece here, so that I can take photographs of some of the things that I build to put on my website, or things like that. So I painted it white, and I want to cover the bottom and keep it kind of clean so that I can do the photography within the booth. And that's all that is. And then you can see I also set up above the booth, I have some hooks here. This is a stick with clips on both ends. I've been using that forever. These little clips here, these went to one of those, it's called an octopus. It's on a small square base, and these four arms come off of it to hold things. What I did with that was I drilled holes in this turntable down below, and I can stick those arms into the holes in the turntable here, so that I can hold things on the turntable and still be able to spin it around. And it works fairly well, so I'm going to continue doing that. Now, on with the spraying. What I'm using is Home Depot primer, just Rust-Oleum, basic primer. And I'm just going to do a coat of primer over this whole thing. So let's get that started. Alright, so that's about it. I think we've got a good coat on there. I don't want to pick it up and show you because I don't want to ruin the paint, but we're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back in a couple of hours. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to spray the whole inside, and then I'm going to let that sit for probably overnight. And that's going to be it for that. So I just wanted to show you this, and we'll come back when the primer on both sides is completely dry. Alright, so we're back. I've let this dry overnight, and now I'm ready to paint. We're going to paint this half is going to be a brick color. So let's get started with that. And you can see I have my airbrush down here, right here, and I have, what I'm going to use is rust color, Model Master rust paint, to paint the brick pattern, the brick color. So let's get started on that. So the first thing I need to do is to get some paint. I'm going to fill up my airbrush, and we'll set that off, and we'll close up the bottle so I don't spill it. And then we'll get started into spraying this. now we can turn that off, and this is what we end up with. I think it looks pretty good. So now we got to let this dry, and then we can actually peel this off now. And let's see how well our lines did. Now this I stick on here so that it holds the building in place. I don't want to have to worry about it moving around while I'm spraying. And that'll look like that. All right. So that looks pretty good. I think we'll yeah. So now it just needs some trim painting around the windows on that side, the doors, the door setup in the front, and that side will be done with some weathering. Now it's time to get this other side done. So I'm gonna let this dry for about, I don't know, I'm gonna give it about an hour to set up and dry. Alright, so now this is dried. I've taped off the other side. Now we're gonna just spray this end of it. Alright, so I'm gonna have to go mix more, but you get the idea. This is how it's gonna be. And I think I got a pretty good color on that. I was gonna use concrete color for this, but I don't really like the concrete color for it. I did a bunch of driving around looking at different buildings and the color that they were, and I took some pictures, and this is the color I came up with, and I think it matches pretty good to what I had in mind. I'm liking what I see. I'm gonna go mix up some more of this color and finish painting this. So when I'm done, we'll come back to the desk and we'll take a look at the whole completed paint job. Alright guys, here's the whole painted building. I think it came out pretty good. We're gonna go with this. So the next thing to do with this is to start painting the window trims on this whole thing. Now I'm not gonna paint all of this on video because it would be a really boring video, but I'm just gonna show you how I'm doing it. I'm doing it by hand because for me it's the easiest way. I don't really want to go through the trouble of trying to tape off every little window trim in here. There are just too many of them. So why don't we get started doing that? Okay, so I'm gonna start with this building here, and I'm gonna start by painting a couple of these windows. I'm just gonna do like maybe these two windows here, and then I want to do this top part, and that'll give you an idea as to how I'm gonna go about doing this. So what I have here, I have a little piece of paper, and I have some model color white paint. This is what I'm going to use for the paints for the trim. This stuff is by Vallejo. It's pretty good paint. I like it. This one here is not for airbrush. It's a little too thick. But what you want to do is you want to shake it up real good. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this out on a piece of paper and squeeze a little bit down on there like that. That's it. Now this little touch of paint here, it's not a lot, but that's enough to cover probably all of the windows. I have a very small brush, which is right here. This brush actually works really good for small stuff like that. So all I'm going to do, put my glasses on here so I can see. And I'm going to take my brush, I'm just going to wet it just a little bit. You can see I'm only putting just a little bit on the end, and I'm just going to start going through these. And that's it. That's just going to go just like that. And then we have the first set of two windows is done. Just as quick as that. All right. And I say quick, but you know, this is probably going to take me probably 4 or 5 hours to do. And I'm also going to do all the windows in this one, all these apartment windows. I'm going to paint the trim on all of those white. All right. Now, let's move on to these lower windows here. Okay, so the other thing I didn't mention, I probably should have, is when I'm doing these things, I keep a small cup of clean water so that I can change colors quickly to wash the brush off. Keep that there, and then I keep a paper towel right nearby so I can kind of dry this down a little bit. Now, for these windows and all of this trim, I've already painted this. You can see this is painted in railroad tie brown. I'm going to do the same with those trims. So what's going to happen with those, I'm kind of jumping around here because there's a lot of different aspects I want to paint on this. So this area here, underneath here, I want to paint this all railroad tie brown. And the look I'm going for with this is, yep, it's an old building. And somebody had mentioned, you know, I should do this with the old style revolving doors to make it look like an old time building and all. But the look in reality, what I'm looking for is I want the look of an old time building that's been remodeled, right? So it's been brought up to the current time frame. Alright, so this is the look we're going for, and each of these windows, I'm going to leave this pillar in white, this one, and this one are all going to stay in white, and the centers will get painted brown like this one is. So that's the look we'll have. Now, as far as the lower windows, we've already talked about these uppers are going to be in white. These lowers right here, there. And then that'll be, all of these windows here straight across will be lined like that. Alright. And we'll close this up. So I'm kind of hitting all the different areas just to give you an idea as to what the painting's gonna look like. Now we have the top of the apartment building. Clean off the brush yet again. Now normally if I wasn't doing a video I would just go through and do each part complete, but I just, like I said, want to give you a flavor of what this looks like. For this top part here, this whole top part of this building, I did a lot of research, a lot of looking on the internet as far as how these things are painted, and I'm going two different colors with these. So I'm going on the fact that these center parts here, these decorative pieces here, are probably made out of concrete. All these parts are going to be concrete, and we're going to go with this parts in the middle here are probably made out of wood. Okay, so I'm going to start with aged concrete, which I have right here, and we're going to start painting these areas here, and I'm going to do all of them. Okay, we're going to do the upper and the lower in the aged concrete, and I'm doing aged concrete because it's a little darker. Alright, so here's the first of those pieces right there, the first side, and then I'm going to paint also, let's do this middle one here. Okay, so that's kind of a look as to how that's going to go, and I'll continue painting all these pieces here all the way across, and then in between here is going to be a third color. So let's close this up and we'll pull out the next color. Alright, so the color I'm using on that is called Wood. It's kind of a neutral color. I wanted to keep it kind of neutral. So this top side will look like that. Alright. And I'm kind of digging this. I think it's going to end up being pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. Now I may need to, with this color here, it doesn't cover real great on the first run through, so it may need a second coat. So that'll be like that. And that's our top side of the building. The only other thing that's going to need to get done is I want to do something with these and the window sills. So why don't we start working on those for a minute. Okay, so now for these parts right here, because these are concrete as well, in the window sills, I'm using regular concrete. It's a little bit different shade of the concrete color, not quite as dark. So same thing. And that's going to go like that. Okay. And that's it. That's how I'm going to paint this whole thing. So you can kind of see how this is going to look. Let me see. Maybe put something dark behind here. Like that. There you go. Now you can kind of see. So that's how that's all going to go. And I think it's going to look pretty good. I'm really happy with the way this is all turning out. So now I'm going to go and finish this whole building, and we'll look at it again next week. Alright, so that's going to be it for this week. That's all I got. If you just found me and watching me for the first time, please by all means subscribe to my channel. Love to have you along. Don't forget to like and share my videos. And until next time, happy modeling.